What we learned from the Champions League this weekend, some juicy action, obviously featuring the British sides and, of course, Real Madrid with a huge comeback against Dortmund. The Champions League has been hotting up in the last couple of weeks and some huge results. We have to start off with Liverpool, who I think their result went right under the radar. They've had a perfect start in the Champions League. Going away to Germany, going away to Leipzig is never easy. Yes, Liverpool should probably be winning this kind of game 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But again, it kind of goes into this narrative, particularly what happened against Chelsea in the Premier League as well, and where Liverpool are coming up next, obviously with Arsenal. They're on this kind of professional, subdued run where they're just getting results, they're executing at a very high level. And one thing we learned from Liverpool has to be the rotation of the front three. Because yes, Salah's still playing a lot of football, but if you bring in Núñez, you play a little bit more of Gakpo, you've got probably the most versatile world-class forward line in terms of world-class options from the bench to rotate per every game going in Europe. I think more than Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid's front three is probably better, but the rotation from the bench is better from Liverpool. Even Man City, you could argue. You know, between Jota, Núñez, Gakpo, Salah, Diaz, it's outrageous. Even Chiesa, who's barely kicked a ball as well. And I think Liverpool can use that. I think as long as they can control a game for, as long as they can get their foot on the ball, they're going to create so many chances this season. And I think they can bounce back from injuries. I think they can bounce back from low dips in form, which every side gets because of this rotation of the front three, which is so mobile. It clicks so well. The connection between Salah and Núñez was unbelievable for the goal. And it's scary seeing Núñez maybe come in, pick up form, particularly this season where you feel it might be a make or break season for Núñez. He can come in and kind of create this meritocracy where if you come in and perform, you're going to get the opportunity to play. The midfield, again, absolutely excellent. There was a period when I was watching the game, final 15, 20 minutes, where there was just this element of control, domination on the ball. And seeing McAllister come back obviously wasn't sharp enough to play against Chelsea or start against Chelsea. Massive. I think he's their best midfielder by a country mile. And this Liverpool side, they can keep all these players fit. There'll be massive dark horses for the Champions League. And I just think it's so impressive. Whatever happens to Liverpool this season, it's a free hit. It's Arne Slot's first season. There are people saying that you might get sacked by Christmas. I don't think that was the FSG model ever. And for Arne Slot to go above and beyond expectations so early in the season, joint top of the Champions League table, right at the top of the Premier League as well, I think it's just his professionalism that I'm very impressed with Liverpool. And I think a large part of it comes down to just rotation. Look at Arsenal. You feel that the drop-off with Trossard sometimes playing left, Martinelli, Raheem Sterling, could argue is a bit of a spent force. Decent, obviously, against Bournemouth despite the loss. You look at the quality of Diaz, Salah, who both start for Arsenal every day of the week. And then you think, okay, Jota, is he working? Gakpo, is he working? Núñez, is he working? You can rotate so many players. We have to move on to Arsenal. Arsenal are in a world of pain going into the Liverpool game. I think Arteta came out was kind of saying that Arsenal will be flying going into that game. Obviously, it's Shakhtar Donetsk. Obviously, it's a good result for Arsenal, and they've been unbeaten in the Champions League as well this season. They dispatched PSG a couple of weeks ago in a very professional manner. And this was very similar. Shakhtar had a few chances, don't get me wrong, but Arsenal always looked in control. But they're in some really, really difficult positions. The first one in the front three, when you contrast what Liverpool did, what we're able to do with rotation with Núñez and all these other players, like I mentioned, you think Martinelli, not really trusted to play many minutes against Bournemouth. Then he comes in and plays, I think he played the full game against Shakhtar Donetsk. That's interesting because we still don't necessarily know who's the left wing starter for Arsenal in these big games, particularly again with the Liverpool game coming up. So that's an issue because I thought he was dangerous, Martinelli. And sometimes a player needs to play against slightly weaker opposition just to find form, just to make you feel confident, feel like you're the player that everyone knows that Martinelli is. I think he has to start against Liverpool. I really do. I just don't see a similar threat with anyone else on the left. And it's a stark contrast again to the likes of Liverpool, to the likes of City. You've got so many players in that position vying for that position. I feel like Arsenal almost have to give Martinelli the opportunity. I'm not necessarily impressed with Trossard in these big games playing on the left as well. So that's going to be an issue for Arteta. He has to address it. The second one is obviously the horrible injury to Calafiori. As a rival fan, you obviously don't. I don't want anyone to get injured, but that's a concern. He was absolutely fantastic against Shakhtar. I know it's Shakhtar. I think he made 42 passes in a very short amount of time. He was just coming in midfield, and he was playing things so quick between the lines. Dare I say it, he's more brave at playing between the lines than Declan Rice. He was exceptional against Man City a few weeks ago. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. His physicality, his pace, his quality and kind of je ne sais quoi on the ball is outrageous. He just looks like a player ready for this level. And then the horror thing happens with his knee injury. You pray it's more of a sprain. You pray it's not chronic. You pray it's not related to his previous two knee injuries when he was at Roma in the academy. You pray that's not the situation, because you want to see every side with their best players. And Arsenal's one of their best players this season has been Calafiori along with Timber. Two players that are massive, massive doubts. Obviously, Calafiori is basically out for Liverpool for sure. I'm not sure we know about Timber. But you go into that game now, and Arsenal's one thing that they could always be steadfast about and just sit back and rely on is that kind of defensive record. Gabriel, Saliba's out for the game. Calafiori's out for the game. Looks like Timber's out for the game. You're looking at a back four potentially of Ben White, who, let's be honest, he didn't fancy in these big games. I still like Ben White massively, but he's not been fancying. Skelly at left back, Gabriel with Ben White, and then you're looking at Partey, who has lost a yard of pace. Good positioning, and he'll be a smart player to have in that position against Diaz. Arteta has to work it out. I think Arteta has to be braver. Skelly's the one. I mean, Skelly can come in and with his youthful energy bombard the left flank for Arsenal. But he isn't trusting these players. The Shakhtar game proved again that I think rotation for Arsenal is absolutely huge. He has to figure out solutions a lot quicker than I think he has been. And he's unlucky with injuries, don't get me wrong. But the Calafiori one is crazy. Inter Milan comes up for Arsenal as well in the Champions League. I think they'll bang Inter Milan. I think the English sides have been a cut above everyone else in Europe. Again, we can debate the money and the kind of investment in Premier League football versus everyone else. But I think Arsenal will still bully Inter Milan. They've been bullying everyone in this division so far, but Liverpool's the big one. It really is. Let's move on to Man City. What can I say? Erling Haaland could have had another hat-trick yet again. The flick is outrageous. 44 goals for Erling Haaland in the Champions League by the age of 24. And we got Roy Keane calling him a League 2 player. And I'm never gonna let it go until I meet Roy Keane. He apologises to me and every City fan, because the flick. And people on Twitter are actually saying to me, they're actually saying, "Oh, it was such a bad connection that it was like a League 2 player." It's embarrassing if you hold that opinion. It really is. That kind of flick at any angle, it doesn't matter. Wayne Rooney shinned it in the Manchester derby in the bicycle kick in 2011. He shinned it. And it was still considered one of the great goals ever. When you make connection at that kind of weird body angle, it was very Zlatan-esque, of course. Got the little bit of even the Sergio Aguero used to come up with these cute finishes, not in the air in the same way, but that was a world-class finish. And whatever happens to City, I still think there are slight issues in the midfield. I still think there are slight issues on the break. I think sides are finding a lot more joy on the break against City, and even Prague did in this game. But if you can just hang your hat on Zlatan Erling Haaland for 60% of the game, 70% of the game, you're going to do very, very well. You really are. Savinho, fantastic. Great seeing Nathan Ake back. He had a disallowed goal. Nathan Ake is an underrated part of this squad. He brings a lot of balance, maturity, calmness to the back line for City. And I think Nathan Ake will be absolutely huge if City wants to go on and kind of do multiple major honours this season. Big if, of course. And then we have to wrap up with Real Madrid, as much as I hate to say it, for multiple reasons. The first one is Vinicius Jr. Look, Real Madrid versus Dortmund is a classic kind of game. There have been some huge games. Obviously, Dortmund got to the Champions League final with Lewandowski. So, obviously, the Champions League final, obviously, in the summer as well. It's a classic game. When you see Dortmund's kit at the Bernabeu, it's just something about it that's special. And then Vinicius Jr. rocks up and puts in obviously the performance of the week, maybe performance in the Champions League so far this season, period. It might be the best. It's right up there. I mean, obviously the first goal was a decent finish, but the second goal it was outrageous. Even the third one was scary good. It was this Brazilian inevitability that we haven't seen in European football for a while, maybe since Neymar in his prime. Obviously, you bring in the likes of Ronaldinho, Kaká. It could be any. He doesn't have to be Brazilian to have the quality that he's got, but there's this kind of Brazilian flair to the goals that he scored against Dortmund that you just think he's going to keep doing that week in, week out until you really stop him and until he stops himself. It was scary. The way he ran away from Emre Can, and he has the intelligence to score into the roof of the net. It was outrageous. It was Gareth Bale-esque against Mark Bartra. It was unbelievable. So we talk about Haaland at Man City, talk about Salah at Liverpool, and loads of other examples. Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. But Vinicius Jr. probably put in a performance where it might win him the Ballon d'Or against Dortmund. That might just be enough to because Rodri he can't give any more evidence about how good he is. I think Rodri's better in his position than Vinicius Jr. is, in my opinion. But Vinicius Jr. every week is chipping away at that because Rodri can't play football, obviously, for 9 months, which is heartbreaking because we could have seen a Man City Ballon d'Or winner. I still think he deserves it, but you have to let me know in the comments down below. Mbappe, for me, clogs this Real Madrid side up a little bit. I'm going to say it. What can I say? And it was nice seeing Gittins, obviously, former Man City Academy player, moved to Dortmund a few years ago now, 3 or 4 years. Playing for, obviously an England player as well, playing for Dortmund and scoring a goal at the Bernabeu. Beautiful scenes, but Real Madrid, there's an inevitability about them yet again. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about the Champions League this week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you very, very soon.